Well, bravo, Sony. You have done the impossible and betrayed me for the third time this week. I really don't know how they keep doing it. Every time I dig out the PS3, it requires 300 million updates, and it forgot all my PSN login credentials for some reason every single time. And whenever I want to play through Bloodborne again, the PS4 has all the same problems every single time. Then in 2020, they released the PS5 with all kinds of supply issues, and then they actually increased the price in Canada because 600 CAD before tax just wasn't enough apparently. And then what do? They announced a new, much more expensive version of the console. PS5 Pro costs $700 US, which is roughly 950 Canadian before tax and easily over 1,000 after tax, and that's not including the disc drive or the vertical stand, which are both sold separately. Ladies and gentlemen, the iPhone of video game consoles. I don't understand how this is real life. If you adjust for inflation, yes, the original PS3 is still more expensive, but you know what? At least it came with a disc drive. There are real-world countries whose entire GDP is lower than the price of a single PS5, let alone the Pro. And I don't mean GDP per capita, no, I mean their whole entire economy is not enough to buy a single PS5. So to not even include the disc drive and the stand, I don't even have words for that. I ran out of words. I just have to make noises for the rest of the video. Whenever I say the current generation of gaming is the inessential generation, the single greatest monument to that statement is the PlayStation 5. Which is a console whose library is primarily made up of remastered PS4 games that it could already play through backwards compatibility, and some occasionally cool looking exclusive titles that would be nice if I already owned a PS5, but not enough to make me buy one just to play it. When I think about this, I don't know why I would even consider a PS5 Pro. The biggest problem with the PS5 for me, and the thing that's preventing me from buying it for that price point, isn't the power. The base PS5 is still more powerful than my current gaming PC by a substantial margin, but that's not the issue. PS5 Pro is roughly the equivalent of the best gaming PC from 2020, which is when the base PS5 came out, but that's not the issue. The PS5 will be 4 years old this year, and for all its marketing and graphics and whatever, it still doesn't have a crown jewel title in my opinion. It doesn't have an MGS4, it doesn't have a Bloodborne, it doesn't have an Ocarina of Time, it barely even has a Sonic Adventure the fucking thing. Well, actually, this one looks alright, but I think I've been saying this generation feels like it barely started and it's already half over for over half a year now, and after all this time, it still feels just as true. Power is not the issue, it's games, it's all about the games, it's always the goddamn games. It is baffling to me that this long after launch, the PS5 is still hurting for its big boy gateway drug titles, and they think the problem is that the graphics aren't good enough yet. The funniest thing is that they were pushing the Pro as being such a leap forward that you don't even need to choose between fidelity and performance like you do on PS5, and then they showed Harry Potter and the Sons of Bitches running at 30 FPS. Also, let me just say that it's a travesty that Bloodborne still doesn't have any kind of upgraded performance mode for the more powerful PlayStation consoles, something that I'm sure will still be true on PS5 Pro, even though it's like 300 billion times more powerful than the base PS4, which Bloodborne was originally released on. By the time they do something with Bloodborne, the unofficial PS4 emulator that some people have been working on will be playing that game at 60 FPS on PCs. Oh, that already happened. What the fuck? The closest thing PS5 has to a crown jewel title right now, as far as I can tell, is Astro Bot, which is supposed to be really fun. Some people are saying it's as good as Mario Odyssey, some of them are saying it's even better, which is pretty hefty praise. You jump around collecting shiny things while meeting all kinds of PlayStation mascots. It looks to be an old school style video game, but with extremely pretty graphics, you know? It almost looks like it's designed to be a fun video game. To their credit, it's very nice to see PlayStation experimenting with the fun type video game after all these years. The last fun type video game to come out was Dead Rising in 2006. There hasn't been a single fun type video game since then. Do not try to argue with that, you will lose. Something you should understand is that I bought a Nintendo Switch just to play Mario Odyssey, and I would do it again. That is a quality video game. I love Mario Odyssey. It's a masterpiece, and if you disagree, it's because you're... well, I guess it's because you have different sensibilities, but yeah, I would happily buy a Switch for Mario Odyssey. The PS5 costs a lot more money, and Astro Bot is a full price game on top of that, so that's a bit of a harder sell, but he gets a little hover blast thing like Flood from Mario Sunshine, which is one of my favorite Mario titles, so you already know this is winning Game of the Year. Something that is very important to understand is that it's entirely possible a big reason Sony feels confident enough to do stuff like this is because they don't see a legitimate competition from Xbox, which they are outselling by a factor of 2 to 1, again. I don't know what Phil Spencer is about. This dude is all over the place. I feel like every second and third thing that has come out of this guy's mouth for the last 5 years is some variant of, yeah, we really messed up, we suck ass, but you know what? Gamers. Am I right, dude? Gamers.
We're going to take 4 games to the other consoles.
What are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Coming to PlayStation 5 in spring of 2025.
Lost the lead.
With every single console generation, you'll see fans of any console start flapping their hands with excitement at the thought of the other console failing and the entire company dying in a hole. It's only natural. Humans are still a very tribal species, even though we've advanced to a stage in which we are inventing fancy computer chips and shit, but I would like very much for you to understand that when the competition is straight up removed, a massive part of the incentive to strive to do better by the fans, or the consumers as they call us, is also removed. If Sony gets this idea that they can do whatever they want and still sell 63 bazillion consoles, that is very bad for us, and for them to sell a $700 console with an $80 disc drive sold separately should most definitely be taken as a harbinger of very dark times. It feels like PlayStation could be testing the waters to see if they could become the Apple of the video game industry within the next 5 years and get away with it. Next, they're gonna remove the USB ports and sell them separately, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna be buying the fucking analog sticks for the controllers separately for $10 each. A couple months ago, I made a video called Nintendo Switch 2, Don't Be Garbage, where I pondered all the different ways Nintendo could hypothetically screw up the Nintendo Switch 2, which is a console that still has yet to be officially announced, although they did acknowledge it does exist. Even though I liked that video and it did pretty well by my standards, I kinda feel like a dumb fuck for making it, because at this point, with PlayStation doing this kind of thing and Xbox being Xbox as usual, I don't think Nintendo has anything to worry about. I actually believe right now that Miyamoto could get up on stage, drunk off of his ass wearing nothing but a 3-day-old pair of boxers and a sauce-stained wife beater and say, "Fuck you, Mario is dead, I hate my wife, Metroid Prime 4 is cancelled, Switch 2 coming Q1 2025, and it would still win anyway." Way I see it, Nintendo would have to really screw it up at this point in the game for the Switch 2 to fail. They would have to have no real essential exclusives, charge $700 and not include the cartridge slot. Essentially, I'm saying that they'd have to do what PlayStation is already doing. I'm sure some enthusiast will buy this and that's, whatever. Maybe that's what this is really for, the real PlayStation Nation boys in the audience, aka the ones with a lot of money. Me, though, I'll save my money for something more important, like a cement truck full of Reese's Pieces.